Safe Uncertainty is a framework that helps us kind of think about our emotional responses in terms of like feeling safe with not knowing everything.
It's context dependent, it depends on who you are, your own identity. That's why the reflective and reflexive element is really important when thinking about how one manages safety and one manages risk.
Use that authority but with humility, and I think that's really applicable to other work contexts, isn't it? Particularly if you're a leader. You know, sometimes you will need to make those decisions, but how can you do it in a way that your team feels included?
But then you have bullseye, you have catchphrase, you have last of the summer wine, only fools and horses, all of the good stuff, and that was
Good stuff's right here.
Desmond!
Hello and welcome back to the Social Matters podcast. We are three social workers talking about social matters. I'm Fran.
I'm Nadia.
I'm Eugene.
I'm Lewis.
Stressing.
Nadia. I'm Nadia.
Why are you looking over there?
I don't know.
That's your camera.
I'm Nadia.
Where were you looking?
I was looking
She's
at
looking
no
up here like,
cameras.
what?
I was looking at the space in between all the cameras.
We dined out on that video where you're like, hello and welcome back to the Social Matters.
I'm Nadia, alright. What does the ceiling need to know?
You'd think
bro?
after however many years we got this, but every time I could see you two sweating then, because you could see you thinking Fran doesn't even know what we're called.
Yeah.
I was like, we are social.
Are we social workers?
Social
Are
matters.
we talking about social
Well, I
matters?
suppose that's it, isn't it? Like evolution, we are social matters, but also different things as well, which is a lovely thing.
Comedians.
Comedians, yeah. Well, one of us is.
I set her up for that. I knew he was gonna. He's all right. Thank you very much. For that.
All right. But me and Nads are sitting on new chairs.
Yeah,
lucky.
loving these new chairs.
Which is very nice. We always have the kind of studio set up a particular way, don't we? And then it was like the chairs have gone, but then Nad said they're being retired.
Yeah, they're being retired. They moved back into, I don't know, retirement.
It feels awkward.
back, yeah.
But it feels awkward because they're in the room
I
and
know.
they're looking at you.
We're
guys
talking
sitting
about
on the
them,
chair.
but they're looking a bit old.
Why am I on the old chair though? That's a bit unfair.
So
Whoa,
we've got some new chairs. But I was
Democracy.
I was thinking about like old things, and I was listening to a conversation the other day about what would you like to bring back from back in the day, and I was like, oh, that's such an interesting question. What would I like to bring back? And I was thinking, for me, it would be Gladiators, but they have brought it back.
Gladiators.
And I love Gladiators. The nostalgia, like, it's just so good. I watched it, me, my husband, and my daughter over the weekend, and she's so into it in the same way that I was when I was a kid. I loved it. It's so good. So
Is it still the same with the Travelator? Like, is it still the same format?
the Eliminator's there, the Travelator's there, Hang Tough.
Yeah.
They've got a couple of new games, but yeah, the essence of it is there. It's really good.
The wall is there.
The wall, when
they climb up the chase.
the wall's there.
You know what? I haven't got into Gladiators because I almost don't want to.
Like it.
Yeah, it's almost like
Like
it's almost like the old school was the old school one. I wanna. My brother watches what's it, Challenge TV and all of the old 90s stuff like Bullseye. He was watching it with his daughter the other day, so the pictures. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I almost don't want to get into it, but maybe I should start watching it because I love
so
Gladiators as well.
So, what about you both? What would you bring back from back in the day if you could?
Do you know what? This is a timely question because I was up visiting my parents at the weekend for my dad's birthday, and my mum was like, Fran, you've got about 15 boxes of stuff that you need to go through. So I was just in and reminded of a lot of stuff. Like, I had a lot of cassette tapes, and actually I think they are back in with the younger generation. Yeah, like a lot of artists are just producing like limited edition tapes. So I started to Google like some albums that I've got and value, and they're all right. So I've got a whole bounty there.
Ooh.
It's like Mega Rave.
We've got a whole bounty.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're a team. It's collecting money. So, but then I was like, I haven't got a Walkman, but a walk person as well. Let's bring that into the present day. But do you know one thing that I was having this very conversation with my mum, and I thought we just don't do that anymore? Letter writing. I had so many letters, and that was just how we'd communicate. And it wasn't even just like someone who happened to be a good writer or poetic. Like everybody would like, "Hey friend, how you doing? How's uni? I went to the pub. See you later. Bye." Because that was the way you'd. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't send a text message. And actually, there were so many letters, and I was just reading from school, from early days uni, because I think I was 20 when I got my first mobile. So I was like, we just don't do that. And actually, I've got a beautiful archive of my life through letters. And then I was speaking to my mum about it. I thought, no one writes letters. And then my mum was like, or was it my sister? Someone in my family was saying like, what would be like in an archive now? What would you like print off somebody's text? Because, you know, like letters are often used as like kind of history. But what would that look like now?
Screenshot of the text.
Yeah.
Exported files from your WhatsApp.
Exactly.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? But yeah, I just thought, and you know, you get your stamp and you know all of that. It's all immediacy and easy. So I was kind of re-energized to go and buy a book of stamps, but then they're about 20.
£500.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's back to the WhatsApp message.
Yeah.
But yeah, letter writing I would bring back.
You know what? Just on that WhatsApp, I saw something on Instagram the other day where you can actually have all of your WhatsApp messages. Let's say you and your partner or friends or our group chat. We can make it into a book, and it has all of the WhatsApp messages that we've had over the year.
Really?
So that could be. It's funny you said that, because that probably
That's
is
the
what
thing.
it would look like.
Yeah, true.
That's really good. I'll bring back letter writing too. But my one is just channel 1 to 4.
Really?
And I'm a bit conflicted with this.
Yeah, I was
because
like-
I think now, like when I turn...
Choice
I'm like,
paralysis, isn't it?
I'm like, I want to watch something and go on Netflix, and there's so many stuff, and I still have to check Disney Plus and all the other ones. I don't even have all of them. But like there's shows that I want to watch that is on Apple TV. I don't have Apple TV.
Yeah.
And like the other day, I don't know why I'm complaining, but there were like 9 football matches on at the same time. I remember when we were younger and me and my brothers used to listen to the football matches on the radio and
That's what my dad still does.
Yeah.
He's sitting watching the radio on the TV.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
so radio commentary on sport
Yeah.
is so much better because they have to paint the picture.
Yeah.
And also we used to go teletext, CFAX, channel 3, CFAX 302.
Teletext was entertainment. Bamboozle.
Yeah.
That quiz on teletext. That was like, yeah.
And we
God.
used to check things on CFAX, but then you had what you had. And then
I just
Channel
realised younger listeners won't have a clue what we're talking about.
It's all
When
right.
I
they
see
can-
facts, teletext, they're like, cassette tape. What?
They can Google it. But it's that like you just had what you had, and it was so much easier. And I remember when Channel 5 came out on Easter Sunday, it was so exciting. Yeah, and you're like, what is this?
I know, it always felt a bit like saucy, didn't it? Channel 5 would be like just really, yeah.
Spicy.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just it hasn't really improved. Sorry, Channel 5, but it's still the same. But that's what I'll bring back. Just channels 1 to 4. Nice choice. I say that, but then I've got so many series that I need to watch as well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I get it. So we could have so I guess thinking of that vision, it would be like watching Gladiators on one of the 4 channels.
Yeah, it was on ITV.
And then writing a
Writing a
letter
letter.
to tell your mate how
About
much
it,
about
yeah.
the Gladiator episode.
Yeah.
That would be our perfect
and
line.
by the time they get the letter, the Gladiator series is over.
Yeah.
But then you have Bullseye, you have Catchphrase, you have Last of the Summer Wine, Only Fools and Horses, all of the good stuff, and that was
Good stuff's right here.
Desmond. Dun, 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 dun.
Anyway.
Nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
So
Let's
today, so when we're thinking about the episode, we recently did some training with a local authority on the systemic tool, I suppose, or framework of safe uncertainty. And we were thinking about how relevant that is, not just in a social care or social work context, but thinking about our the main bulk of our work in inclusion and also, inclusive leadership. So yeah, we thought we'd kind of have a conversation about safe uncertainty, what it is, and then think about how helpful it can be as a tool and a framework to think more inclusively. So I'm now going to hand over to Nads, who's a systemic psychotherapist, who's firstly going to explain. She didn't know I'm doing this, throwing her under the bus. No, if that's all right, if you feel okay to explain to the layperson.
Here's an image I prepared earlier.
Roughly, if you want, or we can all do it.
No, I'm happy to. So
we can build teamwork.
Yeah, so safe uncertainty is a framework that helps us kind of think about our sort of emotional responses in terms of like feeling safe with also kind of not knowing everything. So that kind of certainty or uncertainty. And it was created by Barry Mason, rest in peace, Barry, who is a social worker and family and systemic psychotherapist. And he, created this framework as a way of us just sort of thinking about how comfortable are we sitting with uncertainty and safety as well. So thinking about our kind of emotional responses to not knowing and to not having kind of everything all tied up nice and neatly in a bow. So he created a quadrant where the two axes were safe and unsafe, or certain and uncertain, and just in those quadrants we just kind of think about, are we sitting more in safe certainty where we feel like we have to know everything, we have to know the answers, we know that this is going to, you know, help us kind of manage the risk well, thinking about a social care context, or are we okay with kind of sitting in a bit more uncertainty? So that's how I'd kind of explain it.
Very well explained.
Yeah, beautiful. And one of the other things that kind of came out of the paper that Barry wrote, wasn't it, around towards a position of safe uncertainty. So that idea that, you know, we can't possibly eliminate all risks and know everything, but being in that position where you kind of, you know, you're able to kind of hold multiple perspectives and kind of experiment. And it's towards a position because, as you said, it came from social care, and it's recognised we can't always, you know, sometimes, you know, we need to address things. And I suppose thinking about it in different work contexts, particularly for leaders, there might be, you know, times where a decision, a business decision needs to be made. But actually, how can, as, you know, people, employees, but also leaders, maybe sit with that kind of a bit of uncertainty, that kind of openness to difference and ideas in that kind of safe, uncertain position. And the thing that I was going to say, but I forgot, was that the thing that came out of it was authoritative doubt. Yes. And that was the idea, wasn't it, to kind of, you know, still, you know, use that kind of authority, but with kind of humility. And I think that's really applicable to other work contexts, isn't it? Particularly if you're a leader, that, you know, sometimes you will need to make those decisions, but how can you do it in a way that your team feels included?
Yeah, and it's really helpful to kind of, because I think a lot of the world is constructed around absolutes. Like, there's a black and white decision. So if somebody, I don't know, commits a crime, then they're either guilty or they're not guilty. Or if there's a measure of success in a work context, then it's success or it's not success. And actually, there's many aspects of life and work life and professional life in all fields that it's not always an absolute decision that you have to reach or make. When you're in some contexts where people have to make a decision, but they are not sure on the absolutes, or the absolute hasn't come up, the notion of safe uncertainty is really helpful to apply to every context. It's like, okay, like you said, Naz, I don't know everything. I don't know all that I need to know. I'm not certain, but how can we move forward and punctuate this moment and this decision making with that kind of like uncertainty but safety wrapped up? So it's really helpful. It's a really helpful kind of framework to almost act as a lens of how you kind of see whatever is decision making or risk in your particular context as well.
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, when you were talking about authoritative doubt, Fran, of that idea of having confidence as a leader, maybe in your, you know, sort of expertise and skills and knowledge, but also holding that humility and that position of, you know what, I can be taught something or shown something new that isn't that's not necessarily something that I've thought about. And that's when we kind of think about the importance of diversity in the workforce, that it's so important to have a workforce where people are diverse and are coming from different experiences, to be able to offer difference for the richness that can then come when you have that in the organisation. I was thinking about what safe uncertainty could look like in an organisational space, and safe certainty for me, I suppose, is a bit like, we know what we're doing, we do the thing, we keep doing it, it works, so we just stay here. Whereas if you're trying to move more to a position of safe uncertainty, what that then brings in terms of like growth and maybe innovation and doing something differently. So, and sometimes in business or in different organizations that can feel risky, but the potential that it can bring if you are able to kind of move towards that position of maybe doing something a bit differently because somebody from your organization has brought a different idea, how that might encourage change and growth in a helpful way. because sometimes staying in that safe uncertainty, that safe certainty of this is what we do, this is how we do it, we're functioning okay. Maybe that's okay, but if you're looking to push and grow, how do you move more towards that kind of safe uncertainty?
Definitely. And because I think it could be quite limiting. And I think the same kind of reflection applies to like the culture of organisations and kind of, thinking about hiring different people, because sometimes a culture can be like, this is what we do, this is how we do it. As you said, this is how we've always done it. But actually like being in a kind of safe, uncertain position about who you bring into the organisation, particularly thinking about diversity inclusion, who you hire, to think about kind of different voices, different perspectives, or are you more an organisation who's in a safe, certain position, is like, we know what we know who we want, and this is what works. But what would enable you to be into more of a kind of open, permeable, kind of maybe fluid position to be able to kind of increase diversity of thought, which then, as you said, can lead to more innovation as well.
Yeah, and just, I suppose, thinking about what, the other parts of the quadrants, about what it could look like organisationally. And I was thinking about that unsafe certainty space. And that made me think, you mentioned culture, Fran, like what's the culture like in the organisation there? And I think in that space, it could be it could be other things, but the unsafe certainty of like, I know people don't have my back, or I know people are talking about me, or I know people aren't, like, there isn't that safety or feeling comfortable, or like you belong, or that you're able to bring your best self to work. I think that's potentially what it could look like in terms of like when we're thinking about culture of organisations, is something that I was thinking. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking that might look like in terms of sort of organisational culture when we're thinking about that part of the quadrant.
Yeah, because it was making me think that I wonder whether a lot of organisations are built around safe certainty. It was making me think about key performance indicators, how PDRs, or like performance reviews, are measured, and they're measured around, have you implemented this strategy? Have you recruited X amount of people? Have you sold X amount of whatever commodity we're selling to people? And whether that is like the primary way or the only way that organizations have to measure success in the safe certainty quadrant, or part of the quadrant. And it's making me think about like how it does require a culture shift to kind of have a complete culture throughout the organization where uncertainty is accepted, and when the kind of hierarchy or how the organization is organized is based around key performance indicators and certainty, then how much of a challenge is it to shift that kind of way of operating, you as an individual line manager or service lead, to really shift to kind of this safe uncertainty position. And it kind of makes me think is both and. It is like where you need to really be safe and certain with key performance indicators and stuff like that, you can be like that, but maybe how you treat people on an individual level, or how you treat people on a micro level.
Yeah, because it's interesting, isn't it, when you're saying about that whole sort of like organisation adopting the stance, because I guess we know it came from kind of our experience of it is through social work and kind of that context where, it's seen often as a way of being, isn't it? And adopting this kind of not knowing, curious position. But it wasn't always easy, in a safeguarding context when you're having to kind of navigate risk. And it invites you to think about your own relationship with risk, your own relationship with kind of safety and uncertainty. So yeah, I guess just thinking particularly for social workers or those in a safeguarding context, it is that thing of like starting with self, isn't it? And really interrogating what they're noticing, how you're kind of moving. We often say it's as a compass to notice, as you said at the beginning, Nads, your emotional kind of response to kind of information and change within families. But it's not about, as we said, like one position being right or wrong or on that binary, but what might you need to kind of move towards a position, or do you need to kind of go for immediate safety? But yeah, just thinking about that kind of way of being, but it's really a tool and a compass for noticing, whether you're in a social work context or whether you're kind of in an organisation. But not easy to always hold that stance, is it?
Yeah.
No, it's not. And it was just, making me think about sort of, especially kind of early on in my kind of social work career, when you're managing and you're thinking, I felt certainly at points sort of so responsible and so kind of that the buck really stopped with me when we're thinking about risk, and that there are times when I probably find myself in that other quadrant of unsafe uncertainty of like, I'm too overwhelmed. I don't even know how to respond to this. Like this is too much, and it was also making me think a little bit about how that then being in that position just shuts down, or there isn't the space or the opportunity for creativity, for vulnerability. Maybe it feels too overwhelming and too much. But I think that things that can kind of help you move through that is, I suppose, the culture and the team around you and your managers and then obviously experience and practice. But there are times when I've just thought about safe uncertainty can be a difficult position to hold, and also the one underneath it, which is unsafe uncertainty, is it can just be it's too much, and if you're in that, burnout is inevitable. Like you can't, that space is just unsustainable.
Because it's linked to emotions, that's like emotion dysregulation, isn't it? When you're just like, I'm overwhelmed and it's really hard. But back to your earlier point, Nuge, I guess you do need that within the system, because it's also about a compass for yourself to notice where you're heading, but also where other practitioners, your manager, other kind of professionals are they pulling you into different positions? So it can be helpful to think about yours, but also different positions. But sometimes other people you could be in a position of safe uncertainty, but others not. And then it's balancing that.
And I think and we talk about context a lot on our episodes. I think it also depends on context as well, about where you are, the kind of risk you're managing or the situation you're managing, but also just thinking about my own social work career, also it connects with the confidence I feel and have felt as a practitioner. My kind of position when thinking about moving towards safe uncertainty was very different when I started compared to now or in the latter years of the practice element of my social work career. So I think it's context dependent. It depends on who you are, your own identity. That's why the reflective and reflexive element is really important when thinking about how one manages safety and one manages risks, because it will be different for each person. But it was making me think also about if somebody or an organisation or an individual was kind of effectively working in a way that allows them to move towards a position of safe uncertainty or stay in that part of the quadrant, what would we be seeing in their traits, in their characteristics, in what they're doing and how they're treating people? What would we be seeing?
I definitely think there'd be curiosity and like questions being asked of others to seek their view and get their perspective on things. I think that is something that you'd see, and just, we talk about not just necessarily the intention of a question to kind of extract information, but also the effects of a question. So even just asking those questions can have the effect of, my opinion matters. What you think, what I think is important. That is something that I suppose then contributes to the culture and and what's created in the organisation. So definitely think asking questions, seeking other people's perspectives, and maybe not holding tightly to like an authoritative position. I think that would be something that's not so present, and it would be a sort of beautiful balance of being authoritative but not authoritarian. So being able to like take and make those decisions, those leadership decisions, but not in a way that's doing to people.
I like that.
I think also kind of cultural humility. So again, building on that, but really thinking about like openness to kind of difference and that not knowing and seeking to understand, whether that's in a social work context and kind of the families and children you're working with, or in teams with colleagues, I think is really key. And I think a kind of a relationship with change that sees change as opportunity and growth rather than it being kind of negative or kind of fixed. So yeah, that kind of openness to learn and grow, rather than this is how we do it, or there's only one way, or there's a fixed kind of understanding of what's happening, I think.
Yeah, I like that. And I would echo everything you both said and add the idea of if you're in that position, or if your organisations are in that position, and it's kind of connected with curiosity, but holding multiple ideas of what could be happening, of what could be going on. And that sometimes I think in like what I was saying earlier, in a culture or an organizational context where things are viewed as absolute or certain, to have multiple ideas or views could be viewed as indecisive. Yeah. Whereas I think it's actually a reflection of robust thought and robust thinking. Okay, it's almost like a cube, like it has multiple sides, and you're looking at all of the 6 sides, studying all of these 6 sides, and then deciding which side you're going to land on, basically. And I think somebody who's really moving towards that position of safe uncertainty, enhancing their curiosity and holding multiple ideas of what could be happening or what is going on, or whether it's with a staff member, whether it's with a client group, whether it's with a project you're working on, and then punctuating that thought and saying, actually, out of all of the 6 sides of this kind of story of this person, this is the one that I'm going to kind of test out a bit more through questions, or this is the one that I'm going to move forward with in thinking about how we work together. And I think that really helps to really create a robust, authentic, almost 4D way of thinking about things, which I think is very helpful when you're in that part of the quadrant of safe uncertainty.
Thanks, team. Enjoyed this conversation. I guess expanding our own thinking about the kind of safe uncertainty quadrant and its applicability across different kind of industries and professions as well. So we have come to the end. We have been 3 social workers talking about Barry Mason's model of safe uncertainty and how it can be used in different contexts. If you'd like to follow us, you can find us on Instagram @Matters Podcast and LinkedIn Social Matters. We also have a YouTube channel watched by my mum and dad, and they love watching me on the big screen and other people as well. But I'm just saying, Ma and Pa are really enjoying the cinematic experience. So do watch the YouTube channel, Social Matters. Thank you. Look forward to hearing your thoughts, reflections.
Bye.